Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. All people. The #1 player in the cultivation world. Chapter 71. Zhang Shuyu narrowed his eyes. Some people just hammer. If he has been letting Kang Wu do things, I'm afraid he will be even more presumptuous in the future. Swish. A black figure flashed past everyone's eyes. Before they could see what it was, Kang Wu's voice was heard. You, don't mess around. This is a holy place. No, it's not a place where you can be presumptuous. Yes, are you angry from embarrassment? Afraid that people will know the treasure thing? Having said this, Kang Wu's voice faltered. Because the sword of the undead puppet was at his neck, and it pressed against it a little bit harder. As long as it moved a little horizontally, the sharp blade would cut his throat. Kang Wu, originally you started before me, I should respectfully call you senior brother, but you are not worthy. Zhang Shuyu's voice was light and ethereal, but it was like a boulder pressing on Kang Wu's heart. Gollum. He swallowed, his trembling legs betrayed his fear. Don't make any more messy and unwarranted titles. Put it on me. After all, the grasshopper jumps too much in front of your eyes, and you will be strangled. You say, right. Originally, Zhang Shuyu didn't want to bully people like this in full view, and even talked so much. Simply scare the grasshopper Kang Wu, so as not to upset himself. Even if he didn't move today, one day Kang Wu bumped into his gun and was dealt with by himself, everyone would guess him. Although the Holy Land prohibits disciples from harming each other, if there is no evidence, follow the rules of the cultivation world, strength is the most important thing. After saying this, Zhang Shuyu only gave Kang Wu a meaningful look, and disappeared in front of the entrance of the instance. At the same time, what disappeared was the undead puppet behind Kang Wu. Kang Wu felt the blade leave, and almost sat down on the ground. Fortunately, someone around him helped him with a little disgust. Oh my god, Brother Yang's summoned creature is too scary, right? I didn't even catch the shadow when it appeared just now. Not only that, but the aura is too strong. I now believe that he broke the record alone. With such a summoned creature, what treasure do we need? Junior Brother Yang's eyes are too scary, right? I'm just wondering if it's really possible to kill people. That Junior Brother Zhang is so vicious. Hey, you don't go out in the Holy Land all day long, don't you have any experience? How can the cultivation world be so easy to mess with? The disciples in your peak have stayed in the ivory tower for too long, and don't know the dangers of the cultivation world. Before the changes in the firmament domain, the world of cultivation was far less terrifying than it is now. You will know when you go out to practice a few times. Some ordinary disciples and sensible peak disciples instantly understood that this incident was all because of Kang Wu's jealousy. Seeing Zhang Shuyu leave, Kang Wu was also a little apprehensive at this time. The way Zhang Shuyu looked at him just now clearly regarded him as a monster that could be executed at any time. Seeing that no one is there, Kang Wu is unwilling to lose face. He pointed to the entrance of the Milasi instance where Zhang Shuyu was no longer there. HMPH. Brat, don't let me meet you outside the Holy Land, or I'll kill you. After finishing speaking, he didn't care what others thought, and immediately set out to send the talisman and left this place. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha, did you see that? His legs were trembling when he said that just now. You're so ridiculous, don't you just hide Junior Brother Zhang when you see him? The taunting words in the formation kept coming one after another without showing any face. Most of the disciples who were on Kang Wu's side just now felt embarrassed, and secretly remembered Kang Wu in their hearts. It was that brat who caused them to be slapped in the face like this, literally sending their faces to rub against the feet of the opposite party. In the future, that idiot must not be brought into the team. Kang Wu's fear, and the fact that he was not surprised when he saw Zhang Shuyu summoning the creatures, but only had fearful eyes, clearly telling them. Kang Wu knew that Junior Brother Zhang was very strong. Everyone was discussing and preparing to leave the dungeon formation, and when they called for people to play the dungeon together, 3 bells rang again in the formation. They all looked towards Milasi subconsciously. Break the record again so soon. That's right. Junior Brother Zhang did the same thing yesterday when he brushed Molten Core, breaking his own records time and time again. So fast, do you believe there is any treasure that can allow a person to master the difficult level? Anyway, I don't believe it, but Junior Brother Yang's summoned creatures are more reliable. Some people who had already left the dungeon formation rushed in again, heading straight towards the Mila Sea to witness this historic moment. Damn, am I dazzled. 20 minutes. This record can't be described as great, it makes people feel chills in the back. With so many dungeons of monsters, how could it be solved so quickly? Everyone is old-fashioned, but they just can't imagine how Zhang Shuyu did it, but the facts are right in front of them. Is there a possibility that there is something wrong with the dungeon array? You're talking a very new language. Don't worry, even if your brain stem has problems like that of Kangwu Jr. brother, there will be no problems in the dungeon formation. Then how did he get rid of so many monsters in such a short period of time? Go ahead and ask. I'm not going, I want you to go. I'm afraid. At this time, Zhang Shuyu appeared outside the copy. I saw his hair was a little wet, I wonder if he was tired. No one would have guessed that he just swam around in the Sea of Mila and let the undead puppet jump down holding the remains of the scallop monsters and blow up the boss. Phew, I have finally met the requirements of Star Venerable. He relaxed a lot, thinking to himself. Seeing that the big formation has returned to a relatively calm state, and the annoying Kang Wu is also absent as expected, he feels a little better. Before anyone stepped forward to talk to him, he triggered the teleportation talisman, returned to the cave, and then went to the trading market. Zhang Shuyu first went to the exclusive trading bazaar of the Holy Land. There are countless things here, all of which are settled with contribution points. The biggest difference between it and the Xuanwu Chamber of Commerce is you can consign, but you cannot sell directly to the trading market. Zhang Shuyu found several tasks in it, basically collecting various dropped items. He handed over the dropped items he got to the task, and only exchanged for 120 contribution points. However, this method is already one of the easiest ways for many disciples to obtain contribution points. After getting the contribution value, he went to the Xuanwu Chamber of Commerce and sold all the leftovers. It's not that Zhang Shuyu has never thought about consignment sales, and the price fluctuations are not large. How long will it take to study the price? He didn't take the route of doing business to make a fortune. If you have that little free time, you might as well go to the copy twice. Cough to hide embarrassment. Yellow level equipment is much more valuable than orange level equipment. A few yellow level weapons and equipment, a few orange level weapons and equipment, and some messy materials. In exchange for more than 500,000 spirit stones. Since he arrived in the Holy Land, it seems that the spirit stone is not so valuable. At least he has only been in the Holy Land for a few days, and he has a trance feeling of turning himself into a landlord. Of course, this was before buying the exercise scroll. After going to the dungeon formation, not only did his contribution not decrease, but it actually increased. Zhang Shuyu searched in the Xuanwu Chamber of Commerce, but couldn't find what he needed. In the end, he spent 600,000 spirit stones and bought 6 elementary exercise scrolls. I don't feel enough, I went back to the pre-liberation overnight, oh. He went back to the trading bazaar. There are also scrolls of exercises here, which can be bought with 800 contribution points, which is not enough to buy one if converted into spirit stones. The contribution is still worth the money. After watching a circle, Zhang Shuyu was deeply moved. Not only the scrolls of exercises, but also other things. In the end, Zhang Shuyu bought 10 scrolls of primary exercises and spent 8,000 contribution points. 16 should be too much, right? Although I'm not that European, it's not too bad. After buying the exercise scrolls, Zhang Shuyu went on shopping again. There are many things made by the disciples of the Xuanwu Holy Land, but they are not sold in the Xuanwu Chamber of Commerce. For example, a yellow-level weapon that Zhang Shuyu saw. This weapon named Yunhunjian is not a dungeon, but it was made by a Fansha weapon foundry. It was also at this time that Zhang Shuyu knew that Xuanwu Holy Land would also train Fansha. The function of Yunhun's sword is very single, it can only give mental power plus 400, but it is one of the complete sets of equipment Yunhun Sanwu. For long-range output monks who need to enhance their spiritual power, equipment that can increase their mental power and at the same time enhance their skills is much more practical than this. But what kind of skill bonus can't cover the god-level talent all skills bonus? Therefore, Zhang Shuyu can only choose objects that are effective for spiritual power and have a large increase. Yunhunjian is unique among yellow-level weapons, and no one cares about it. After all, this kind of thing can only be used by certain special Dharma repairs, not other Dharma repairs. Zhang Shuyu's current mental power has reached 1800, and 400 is already very much for him. Owning the Yunhan sword is equivalent to adding another undead puppet. And the higher the mental power, the more absolute value of mental power recovered after entering the time. The most important thing is that Zhang Shuyu's soul fire will be more powerful when it has more mental power. This rhyme soul sword can add to his skills in another way. To others this weapon is an embroidered pillow, but to him it is a real treasure. The rhyme soul sword is priced at 3,000 contribution points, which is about the same price as other yellow level weapons. Zhang Shuyu didn't even blink his eyes when he swiped the disciple card. The exquisite water-rippled long straight sword appeared in his hand, and Zhang Shuyu's spiritual power instantly changed to 2,200. Zhang Shuyu could feel a warm current passing through the hilt of Yunhan's sword into his body. If you use soul fire now, it will probably be a bit stronger. Less than halfway through the bazaar, Zhang Shuyu has already spent 10,000 contribution points, full of pride. He continued to search in the same armed shop, went up to the second floor, and found that it was mainly for defense. Is this for my convenience? Guided by the vibration of Yunhan's sword, Zhang Shuyu walked to a coat with wide sleeves hanging on the wall. He saw a robe with water ripples painted on it, the Yunhan large-sleeved shirt. It is also one of the 3 martial arts of Yunhan, which only increases 200 mental power and has no skill bonus. Zhang Shuyu looked forward to it. There are additional bonuses for suits, and he has already collected 2 of the Yunhan suits. Wouldn't it be easy to find another one? If he couldn't find it, he would go find the weapon maker. The Yunhan large sleeve shirt only costs 2,000 contribution points, which is much cheaper than the Yunhan sword. Although it is more expensive than other robes, Zhang Shuyu is still very refreshing. A few disciples who noticed his movements envied and doubted Zhang Shuyu at the same time. I envy him for being rich, suspect that he has no brains, and buys such impractical things. After Zhang Shuyu changed the Yunhan big-sleeved shirt, his mental power climbed to 2,400. Yunhan Sanwu is only one short, and I don't know what the other is. He simply went directly to inquire about the formation and wrote down the word Yunhan. Formation immediately gave feedback. It was a hairpin, Yunhan hairpin. On the image on the formation, the Yunhan hairpin is engraved with water ripples, and you can guess with your toes that this is the remaining one of the Yunhan Sanwu. Sure enough, when he saw the name of the Fansha weapon maker, he was even more sure. Although Zhang Shuyu couldn't help complaining in his heart that such a hairpin added the same mental power as a coat, but the price had doubled. But with more than 100,000 contribution points in his hand, he wouldn't be so stingy, frugal. After he swiped the disciple card directly in the formation, the Yunhan hairpin appeared in the formation. Zhang Shuyu picked up the hairpin and inserted it directly into his hair crown, and suddenly the entire street of the trading market was illuminated with yellow light. Someone has collected all the suits. I've been in the trading market for so many years, but I haven't heard of any yellow suits. Hey, I remembered, it seems that there is only the Yunhan suit that only adds mental power and no skill bonus. Oh, I also remembered when you said that. Is it the one made by the Fansha Weapon Foundry? That's right. After several years in the trading market, I finally met their bull. Said it was bull, but the man's tone was mixed with the meaning of watching a good show. People looked at the source of the light, and almost everyone who knew the inside story looked at Zhang Shuyu like he was looking at the stupid son of a landlord's family. Spending a huge sum of 10,000 contribution points to buy such a suit without any skill bonuses, what else could it be if it wasn't stupid? Such a high pile of mental power is not as good as a skill bonus. People's joys and sorrows are not connected. Zhang Shuyu didn't understand their pity and the mood of watching a good show. He only knew that his spiritual power had reached 3,400 now. After removing the 200 of Yunhan hairpin, the remaining 800 is an additional bonus. The elders of the Zongmin sincerely do not deceive me, this is the feeling of earning 88,000 in anger. Zhang Shuyu felt emotional in his heart. Under the weird eyes of many disciples, he left the trading market lightly. There is nothing more to see and no need to linger. Everyone did not miss the trace of satisfaction and joy on Zhang Shuyu's face when he left. It's really weird. With so many contribution points, I bought a set of weapons that purely increase spiritual power, and I'm still so happy. Maybe that little junior likes pretty things just like girls. Those water ripple designs are really exquisite. Is it good enough to eat? This is the world of comprehension, where strength is the most important place. Can the boss let him go because of the water ripples? I'm so proud. 10,000 contribution points can be spent. I'm so envious. After Zhang Shuyu left the trading market, he went straight to the training dojo. In the practice dojo of the Holy Land, please arrange a lot of formations. In the practice dojo, not only can the skill proficiency be accelerated, but it is also rumored that new skills can be awakened. I don't know where this rumor came from, but many people feel that it is better to believe it than to believe it. Zhang Shuyu is also one of them. There are 3 floors in the practice dojo, which is the same as the layout of the dungeon formation. Not only do you need to collect contribution points, but there are also level restrictions. Zhang Shuyu only has LV.25 and can only enter the first floor. To practice for 1 hour on the first floor, 100 contribution points are required. Zhang Shuyu suddenly realized why his disciples were training their skills outside instead of practicing in the dojo. This price is indeed much more expensive, and it is only the first floor. After that, every time you climb a level, the contribution value will increase by 10 times, which is ridiculously expensive. I heard that there are dojos with better cultivation effects, but they are not open to disciples, and I don't know if the required contribution value starts at 100,000. After scanning the disciple card on the enchantment, Zhang Shuyu entered the training dojo. As soon as he stepped through the door, he was transported to an independent space. It is circular here, and it looks much larger than the outside. It is hard to imagine how a tower has such a large space. Perhaps he has been teleported to another place. Zhang Shuyu has come to a conclusion. He looked around, and there were many commonly used surgical repair weapons around him, some of which were worn out. Feeling the changes in the magnetic field here, Zhang Shuyu observed the speed of his mental power recovery. It doesn't matter if you don't look at it, it's shocking to see it. Hiss, he gasped. In the training dojo, he didn't go into samadhi, but the recovery speed of his mental power was comparable to that of the samadhi state. He tried to settle down, and was surprised to find that the recovery speed could be accelerated many times again. If I were here to summon undead puppet, and then regained my mental strength, wouldn't I be able to fill the mustard space soon? He thought about it in his mind, and it was indeed a good way to save energy. But now isn't the best time to summon undead puppet because Zhang Shuyu took out a primary skill scroll and used spiritual power to connect. The scroll dissipated into the air and turned into countless light spots, covering Zhang Shuyu. After a while, Zhang Shuyu felt the darkness in front of his eyes, and he opened his eyes. Nothing happened. A primary skill scroll was scrapped. As expected, it is not so easy to awaken skills. Bai Lixi also told him a joke. There was a very unlucky person who was about to step into the second level at LV.36, so he wanted to awaken all the primary skills, and used a full 300 primary skill scrolls at that time. Zhang Shuyu felt that he should not be as dark-faced as that person, so he stretched out his spiritual power again, and the light spots appeared again, as beautiful as fireflies. He suddenly thought of lying on the roof tiles with his sister, looking up at the stars in the sky, and Grandma would look at the siblings with a smile in the yard, basking in her petals. Grandma likes making tongsao flowers the most. It is a craft that is about to be lost in his previous life, and only Xiaofan cultivators can do it in the cultivation world. That time was extremely beautiful, and it was also the memory he missed and cherished the most in his 2 lifetimes. Suddenly, Zhang Shuyu saw a light spot flickering, which was incomparably bright, and then it turned into a stream of light and penetrated into his body. 6 Duanjia LV.1 Defense plus 100, can be used on others, 5 minutes. With the addition of the golden finger, 30 times, it is 3000. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help uttering one word, 6. He used his skills, and his limbs, shoulders, and head were covered with black armor, and his white sleeves were all wrapped in it. Is this the meaning of the 6th stage? Why does it feel like an armored warrior? When he was in the orphanage in his previous life, he and the group of fellow children loved watching armor warrior cartoons, but they didn't have the money to buy them. Now he puts it on, but there is no surprise, it feels very second. But this kind of walking boss feeling is quite cool. Facing those monks at the same level, now Zhang Shuyu felt that he could speak boldly. Come and hit me, if I don't do it, you still can't kill me. The most important thing is that this skill can also be used on others. As long as he is in the team, the defense may be difficult to break. Zhang Shuyu moved around, and found that he could still move freely, and the 6th-stage armor did not hinder his actions at all. Moreover, the 6th-stage armor is as light as nothing, and there is no sense of pressure at all. After trying for a while, Zhang Shuyu had a smile on his lips. Another practical and powerful skill. Using the exercise scroll again, the light spot surrounded him for more than 10 seconds, then gradually dissipated, and there was still nothing. Zhang Shuyu didn't think there was anything to be disappointed about. He has awakened a very powerful skill, and he is very satisfied. As the number of skills increases, it will not be easy to awaken skills from the skill scrolls, and even using 100 skill scrolls will not help. Zhang Shuyu chose to continue using the scroll of exercises. No response. Still no response. Zhang Shuyu looked indifferent, and continued to use the skill scroll without any irritation. Zhang Shuyu has already prepared for the worst. Even if he fails in the end, he will still be able to make a profit with only the 6th-stage armor skill. After failing several times in a row, he started to use the 10th skill scroll. These light spots enveloped him as before. Then, a miraculous picture appeared in front of his eyes. The light and shadow are chaotic and blurred, and the wind and fire are scattered, as if sweeping the entire grassland. As calm as Zhang Shuyu, he couldn't help getting excited at this moment. It seems that a new skill has been awakened, and it is still a skill related to magic. Ghost Magician LV. 1. Summon a red-level Ghost Magician. Close black lens bracket. Without much explanation, with a thought in Zhang Shuyu's mind, a small vortex appeared around him, consuming 50 mental power. Compared with Summon Undead Puppet, the magician's mental consumption is more, and when the puppet is at level 1, it only needs 10 points. The red-level Ghost Magician is still covered in tatters, including cotton and linen robes. Compared with the yellow-level Undead Puppet, it is terrible. It wobbled as it stood, as if it was about to fall apart at any moment. A ball of sparks was in his palm. Fire Element Ghost Magician. The skill of red-level Ghost Magician is the explosive technique. The explosive technique can cause fire elemental damage to the target, and the attack power depends on the mental strength. The base spirit is 30. After turning 30 times, the mental power soared by 900. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help but rejoice. The strength, agility, and physique of the Ghost Magician are not high, they are all 10, which is lower than the LV.1 monk. Zhang Shuyu instantly thought about the fate of the Ghost Magician. In the future, the undead puppets will be responsible for the front line, and they will output in the back row. The effect of this combination will not be bad. What he has to do now is to keep practicing his skills, increase his proficiency, and let the Ghost Magician continue to upgrade. The light spots continued to light up one after another, and Zhang Shuyu used them one by one. With previous experience, Zhang Shuyu felt that this was nothing more than normal. Finally, when he reached the last scroll, there was a picture in front of his eyes. This time the picture was something like a purple crystal ball, covering him. Shadow Shield LV. 1. Passive skill. The target's magic damage to the user and summoned creatures is reduced by 10%. Close black lens bracket. Calculated in this way, the damage done by any AP to him will be fully reduced by 3 times, and his defense will be greatly increased again. Although the defense of the undead puppets is high, they can still cause a lot of damage to the boss whose attack value far exceeds their defense. Every skill of Ghost Cultivator is very practical, and none of them is useless. Half an hour has passed since Zhang Shuyu entered the training dojo. In this place where the time is equivalent to the contribution value, Zhang Shuyu decisively summoned 6 undead puppets, and now there are 152. Then he destroyed the Ghost Magician. Summoned creatures can be collected into the mustard space, allowing them to exist permanently, or they can be destroyed at any time. There is no way. Zhang Shuyu needs to practice skills repeatedly to improve his proficiency, so he can only do so. Summoned and then destroyed, his spirit was quickly drained. Zhang Shuyu seized the time and began to meditate. The speed of recovering mental power in the training dojo is extremely fast, and he can clearly feel the comfort brought by the refreshment washing over his mind. When Zhang Shuyu was reminded that there was still 1 minute left, most of his mental strength had recovered. Without even thinking about it, he swiped the contribution value for another 3 hours. When his mental strength was completely recovered, he began to practice his skills again. Ghost magicians kept appearing and disappearing. Once the mental power is exhausted, he will continue to enter the samadhi, and in this cycle, Zhang Shuyu uses his skills non-stop. On the way to becoming stronger, you will be obsessed with it. Zhang Shuyu finally understood. After repeated practice, he became more and more proficient in summoning the ghost magician. The basic stats of the ghost magician have been doubled, but they are still at the red level, and the dilapidated appearance has not been improved a little. Although it is not as good as the undead puppet, it would not be too much to say that it cannot be used. It's time again. Zhang Shuyu has been in the training dojo all afternoon. After repeatedly falling into meditation for 4 hours in a row, he was refreshed, but he couldn't help feeling tired. It feels like playing a dungeon all day. Zhang Shuyu left the training dojo and contacted Nan Chengxing with a jade slip. Nan Chengxing's deep voice, rich in magnetic field, came. What's the matter? Xingzhen, I have already met the requirements. Zhang Shuyu spoke calmly. Nan Chengxing over there had a strange look on his face and a surprised tone. Are you stable at LV.25? Zhang Shuyu said calmly, yes. Nan Chengxing on the opposite side seemed to be silent for a long time. You go to the Foreign Affairs Hall and wait for me. Yes, Xingzhen. After the contact, Zhang Shuyu walked briskly towards the Foreign Affairs Hall. In the secret realm, Li Jing couldn't help laughing and said, who is LV.25? Nan Chengxing waved his hand. Who else could it be? Of course it's Zhang Shuyu. Li Jing was not surprised, but was surprised by his reaction. Isn't this quite normal? Why did you have that ghostly expression just now? It's indeed normal, but he was only LV.23 when he went to the Foreign Affairs Hall to report yesterday, and it's only 1 day now. Is it too fast? Li Jing's eyes couldn't help but widen, suddenly realizing. It's a little bit. He won't go to the dungeon alone, will he? Thinking of Zhang Shuyu's performance on Luguang Desert, Nan Chengxing also felt that he had this ability. It seems that my vision is really good. Nan Chengxing put gold on his face very badly. At this time, a figure came hurriedly. You guys are so leisurely. Something big happened in our holy land. Nan Chengxing put down the tea in his hand and smiled, as if he had already guessed why the other party was so anxious to get angry. Old Qian, why don't you take a good look at your dungeon array? Why? Want to drink tea with us too? Hearing this, Baili Qianju had a bad face. Speaking of which, it has something to do with you. There is a kid who has been breaking the record for the past 2 days. Today, many disciples got into an argument because of him, and almost fought. A disciple said that you gave that kid some treasure, so he could break the record and take the first place. Yo, this is really strange. Nan Chengxing raised his eyebrows. What kind of treasure is this? It sounds amazing, even I don't know. Who won the first place? Let's hear it. While talking, Nan Chengxing also handed a cup of tea to Baili Qianju. Don't worry, sit down, sit still, drink tea and talk slowly. Li Jing saw the presence of Nanshan Star God from the side, so he knew that this guy had something in mind. Who else could it be besides the boy he was optimistic about? Baili Qianju took a sip of tea and took a sip. That disciple's name is Zhang Shuyu. He was only LV.23 at noon yesterday. He first went to the Molten Core, and then went to the Mila Sea. Here, you see, here are his records. With a wave of Baili Qianju's hand, the record of Zhang Shuyu in the dungeon array was displayed. It's all over 20 minutes. Nan Chengxing and Li Jing looked at each other, feeling that this result was a little scary. Even they were severely shocked. Li Jing smiled self-deprecatingly. Old Nan, could you do it back then? Nan Chengxing, who is barefoot and not afraid of wearing shoes, admits his shortcomings carelessly. What the hell, let me run to single out the normal level ones, it's okay, the difficult level, tisk tisk, why don't you just hang me with a white silk? I really can't imagine how this little monster did it. It seems that there is no problem in entrusting him with the task. I won't tell you, I'll withdraw first, that little monster should go to the Foreign Affairs Hall, it's not good to keep him waiting for a long time. As soon as the words fell, Nan Chengxing disappeared into the secret realm. Baili Qianju looked at Li Jing suspiciously. This guy is in a hurry, what's the mission? What does this Zhang Shuyu have to do with him? Li Jing covered his mouth mysteriously. This is a seedling he is optimistic about, leave him alone, let's continue drinking tea and chatting. Oh, then I understand. Baili Qianju thought in his heart, as long as there is no problem with Zhang Shuyu. It just so happens that the old man also has something important to ask for you. I didn't expect you to be there. Huh, are you looking for me? Li Jing was slightly taken aback. Go to the Three Treasures Palace for nothing. Tell me, what do you want from me? Make me a ring. Foreign Affairs Hall. Sure enough, Zhang Shuyu had already arrived here. Xingzhen, may I ask what is the task you gave your disciple? He can't wait to pick up the task now. Nan Chengxing took a look at Zhang Shuyu, and it turned out that he was already at LV.25. He suddenly felt sour with envy. This leveling speed is really not ordinary fast. At least much faster than he was back then. I think I was miserable back then, but others only need one day. Nan Chengxing couldn't help complaining in her heart that the two siblings were all perverts. Zhang Shuli arrived at LV.37 to worship the Shinto peak in 3 months, and his speed is already comparable to flying. As a result, this Zhang Shuyu was even more outrageous. It is estimated that if this continues, it will take less than 3 months to reach LV.37. The task is very simple, just take something. Nan Chengxing sat very casually, with a strong aura of being in a high position for a long time, no matter how casual he couldn't hide it. Ordinary disciples would be intimidated by this aura when they saw Nan Chengxing, but Zhang Shuyu felt calm. It's not easy for him to suppress his admiration for Nan Chengxing in his heart, so he doesn't have time to think about those illusory auras. Of course, Nan Chengxing didn't put on any airs, and didn't intend to scare him. You have been to the dungeon formation, you should know that there is a team dungeon named Desolate Snowfield. Zhang Shuyu nodded, the disciple knows. Well, your task is to go to the dungeon of the Barren Snowfield and get back the Ice Lotus in the dungeon. Of course, the Ice Lotus is on the king-level monster. Zhang Shuyu was dumbfounded, it's that simple. The Barren Snowfield is a team copy, which can accommodate up to 40 people, and the level requirements are also relaxed. That being the case, there must be a lot of monsters inside, and they are not weak. For Zhang Shuyu, it is not a problem to have too many monsters, but not enough. There are dead bones, no matter how many monsters there are, they are just giving him experience. Nan Chengxing saw the lightness in his eyes, and smiled maliciously, do you think it's too simple? Zhang Shuyu really wanted to nod, but before he had time to express his opinion, Xingzhen spoke up. Ice Lotus is not so easy to get. After all, the reason why the deserted Snowfield dungeon can be called a team dungeon is naturally difficult to overcome. Although this dungeon is only LV.31, it far surpasses other dungeons of the same level. Having said that, Nan Chengxing paused and stopped talking. Zhang Shuyu understands the truth, and there is no need for him to continue to explain. Xingzhen must have never imagined that he originally planned to go to the Barren Snowfield. Nan Chengxing's fingers tapped lightly on the table. Bring Binglian back within 3 days, and I will get you a time talisman. Okay. Disciple understands. Zhang Shuyu nodded and replied politely. Before entering the dungeon formation, he had a strong desire for the time talisman. But now he only needs to spend some contribution points to eliminate the cooling time, and he is not so interested in the time talisman. Nan Chengxing noticed Zhang Shuyu's eyes and couldn't help laughing. Do you think that the time talisman is useless with the dungeon formation? I can tell you clearly that the time talisman is very useful, and it is not comparable to the dungeon formation. Although there are many dungeons in the dungeon formation, none of them are the best places to practice. You will definitely come into contact with the best ones in the future, but the cooldown time of those copies will be surprisingly long. The cooling time of some top dungeons will even reach 1 month. At that time, the time talisman will be able to play a role. Zhang Shuyu wanted to refute, but this is just a primary time talisman. Nan Chengxing couldn't help holding her belly and laughing loudly. Any high-level time talisman evolves from a primary time talisman. After completing the task, I can not only give you the primary time talisman, but also tell you how to advance the time talisman. It turned out to be like this, beyond Zhang Shuyu's expectation. Okay, this disciple will bring Binglian back successfully. Zhang Shuyu accepted the task. Nan Chengxing laughed. The Holy Land will hold a welcome ceremony in 3 days. All the disciples who entered the Xuanwu Holy Land this year will be there. You should also come to participate when the time comes. Don't miss it. Yes, the disciple knows. Secret Realm. When Nan Chengxing came back, Li Jing was still leaning on the recliner and sipping tea, as if admiring the distant scenery. How about it? Li Jing sat up and gave Nan Chengxing another cup of hot tea. The smile on the corner of Nan Chengxing's mouth was lingering. That's right. The more I look at it, the more I like it. The calmness, rationality, and modesty of this little monster are very much to my liking. I asked him to go to the barren snowfield to get the ice lotus, and gave him 3 days. Oh, the barren snowfield. Li Jing stroked the cup. It's not easy to gather so many people. Ha ha ha. Zhang Shuyu will definitely not find someone, he must still be alone. Brushing the team copy alone. Li Jing's mouth twitched slightly. Didn't you do this when you were young? Nan Chengxing waved his hands and said with a smile, hey, a good guy doesn't mention his bravery back then. I remember you were LV.36 back then, and finally ran out in disgrace. Nan Chengxing's smile disappeared immediately, and he didn't want to continue chatting with him. It's said that a good man doesn't mention his bravery back then. The gate of the dungeon formation is still very lively. The arrival of Zhang Shuyu immediately attracted the attention of many people, and now he is a man of the moment in the dungeon formation. Although the level is not high, it has broken the record for a difficult level dungeon for 2 consecutive days. The time spent is short and exaggerated. Zhang Shuyu, look, this junior brother Zhang is going to refresh the dungeon again, right? I'm really curious what dungeon he will brush. Zhang Shuyu came to the affairs center in the center of the dungeon formation, and randomly found a few tasks related to the barren snowfield. If you gain something in it, you can exchange for contribution value. Suddenly, he saw someone begging to buy Binglian, and he was rewarded with 100,000 contribution points. This reward is very rich, so rich that it is unusual. A LV.31 copy, even if it is a team copy, is still a LV.31 copy. The ice lotus inside can be worth 100,000 contribution points. 100,000 is almost enough to buy a green level weapon. Combined with Xingzhen, Binglian is also needed, which makes him feel that Binglian is unusual. Junior brother Zhang, are you going to enter the dungeon? Looking up, she saw Ling Jin standing beside her with a smile on her face. Zhang Shuyu happened to have some doubts in his heart. Senior sister, do you know Binglian? Of course I know. Ling Jin nodded without thinking. Ice Lotus is something that will only drop from the boss in the barren snowfield dungeon. The weapon master can use Ice Lotus as the main material to make a king-level weapon, Ice Lotus Jade Pendant. It turned out to be something as special as the beast core of the greedy demon king. King-level armament is a special classification, which will produce attributes that ordinary armaments do not have. For example, the Ring of the Greedy Demon King, all skills are upgraded by 1 level, regardless of the way of cultivation. Zhang Shuyu didn't know if it was useful to him, but it didn't hinder its value. Ling Jin continued, although the Ice Lotus Jade Pendant is good, its main material, Ice Lotus, is too difficult to obtain. Because the barren snow is a team dungeon, there is no difficulty to choose. The monsters in it are more terrifying than the difficulty level of the same level. The most important thing is that the boss inside is an emperor-level boss, very difficult to fight. Even if the monks of LV.36 form a group to fight, it is time-consuming, laborious, and dangerous. If it is not done well, the bamboo basket will be empty. Besides, the Ice Lotus will only drop once a year. The last time the Ice Lotus dropped, it was 2 years ago. Even though it is difficult, with so many people, there will always be monks forming a group to fight. The boss must have been killed many times. Why didn't he get the Ice Lotus? Zhang Shuyu also knows that it is difficult to fight, but the drop rate, is there any law? Senior sister, may I ask why this Ice Lotus hasn't appeared after 2 years? Ling Jin raised 2 fingers. First, the requirements of the barren snowfield are, The fewer people there are, the higher the chance of Ice Lotus appearing, and the number of people is counted from the time they enter the instance, and it doesn't count if they quit halfway. Secondly, the Emperor-level boss Ice Snow Nine-Tailed Fox is special. The faster you kill it, the higher the probability of the Ice Lotus falling. Hearing this, Zhang Shuyu understood. From this point of view, buying Binglian with 100,000 contribution points in the business center is ridiculously cheap. Even if Xingzhen wants it, even if Xingzhen doesn't want it, Zhang Shuyu is a little entangled after knowing its value. Time Talisman and Ice Lotus, it seems that Time Talisman is even more rare. After all, Binglian can get it if she thinks of a way, but there is no way to talk about the Time Talisman. Thank you, sister. Zhang Shuyu hugged his fist politely. Today, this senior sister didn't ask him for contribution points. It's his luck to get someone to answer for free. Ling Jin smiled. You're welcome, junior brother Zhang. I heard that some disciples from the Inner Peak are planning to find someone to conquer the barren snowfield with them. Does junior brother Zhang want to join them? Zhang Shuyu shook his head. No, I'm going alone. Ling Jin was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth from ear to ear. Huh. She thought that Zhang Shuyu would obediently find a team, but she didn't expect him to say that he would go alone. She had never heard of a team dungeon done by one person. This is simply impossible, isn't it? After all, it has never appeared in history. Junior brother, don't be stupid. Ling Jin tried to dissuade him, but Zhang Shuyu didn't say anything, just smiled, turned and left. He walked to the dungeon of the barren snowfield. The vortex at the entrance of the team dungeon was much larger than that of the normal dungeon, and there was even a hint of chill overflowing from it. Zhang Shuyu looked up at the record panel on the copy. The first one was set 4 years ago. Wan Peak, 40 people, 17h 2 feet 36 inches. Close black lens bracket. Wan Peak, like Zhangyang Peak, is an inner peak in the Holy Land, and there are 6 such inner peaks in the Holy Land. Ordinary disciples of the Holy Land, disciples of the Inner Peak, and disciples of the Great Peak are like in spoken rules, and the disciples are also classified into different grades. Because of Kang Wu before, ordinary disciples and Nifeng disciples almost fought, and they also fought secretly inside the Holy Land. Ling Jin frowned, somewhat disapproving. Junior brother Zhang, do you really want to go in by yourself? Zhang Shuyu nodded. Yes, senior sister. Just about to go in, a high-pitched voice came. Stay out of the way. With sharp eyes and quick hands, Zhang Shuyu pulled Ling Jin aside. A strong man in armor and holding a large shield walked over with a vicious look on his face. If Zhang Shuyu hadn't moved fast, he would have bumped into Ling Jin directly. And behind him, many people followed. The shield man's body was burly, and with the helmet on his head, it was far over 1.8 meters, and a strong sense of oppression oppressed his surroundings. He glanced sideways at Zhang Shuyu, full of disdain. I saw him raise his head proudly. We are going to clear the barren snowfield today on Stepping Shifeng, and we will definitely be able to create a new record. Behind him, dozens of people echoed loudly. The record of the barren snowfield has been maintained for 4 years, and it was set by Wan Peak. No one has been able to break it for 4 years, which shows how difficult the barren snowfield is. This time, Lingjin didn't need to say anything. Zhang Shuyu knew their origins from other people. I've heard that Stepping Shifeng vowed to break the record of Wan Peak. Several main players are all stuck at LV.36. Yes, I heard that several high-ranking disciples of Stepping Shifeng even made them green-level armed suits for this purpose. To create a new record, not only can you get many contribution points and merit points, but it is also a kind of glory. Everyone will work hard for this honor. This honor is also a stepping stone for them to enter the peak. The representative of the Shield Warriors, Stepping Shifeng, announced their origin and purpose in a high-profile manner, then looked down at Zhang Shuyu. This junior brother, please make way. Zhang Shuyu didn't move, and he didn't intend to give in at all. This brother, I came first. He opened his mouth lightly, without brushing the other person's face. The senior brother frowned. Junior brother, do you want to fight the barren snowfield with us? Sorry, we have a mission this time. How about taking you next time? Zhang Shuyu couldn't laugh or cry, and pursed his lips. This brother feels too good about himself, right? Seeing that Zhang Shuyu still had no intention of letting go, He frowned, a little embarrassed and even more ashamed. Why is the little junior in front of him so expressionless? But there were hundreds of pairs of eyes watching in the dungeon formation, and he couldn't do anything to Zhang Shuyu. In the end, he turned around and shouted angrily, "Get ready, check your luggage, we are going into the dungeon." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Shuyu said to Ling Jin, "Senior sister, I'm going in." Ling Jin nodded, "Be careful, junior brother." After Zhang Shuyu disappeared, the vortex of the barren snowfield dungeon also lit up. Seeing that Zhang Shuyu really went in, the corner of the shield guard's mouth twitched. This kid went in alone, is he courting death? Suddenly, the entire dungeon formation became lively. Oh my god, he really got in. Even dare to fight alone in the barren snowy field, this junior brother is undoubtedly a fighting maniac. I've never heard of anyone playing a team dungeon alone. If he succeeds, he will have a great history of glory, right? Tisk. It's difficult, right? I don't think it's possible. I've been to a barren snowy field. It's too dangerous. The kind that will kill you if you're not careful. Others definitely can't, but junior brother Zhang is hard to say. The shield warriors led by Stepping Shifeng were unbalanced. They stepped Shifeng well prepared to set a record. Such a well-prepared team doesn't pay attention to a bold little guy. He remembered that Zhang Shuyu was still wearing yellow level weapons, but they had a full set of green level weapons. At this moment, everyone on Stepping Shifeng was a little bit scratching their heads. The shieldmen noticed that their morale had declined and knew they couldn't wait any longer. Enter the copy. With a loud shout, the disciples of Stepping Shifeng stood up one after another, and teleported into the dungeon. The knight glanced at the panel before entering the copy. We will definitely become the new number 1. The barren snowfield is a team dungeon, and it is already LV.31, so the level will naturally rise with each passing day. Zhang Shuyu deducted 500 contribution points when he entered. Eliminates cooldown, takes 2000. If you sweep this dungeon, you will get 2500 contribution points once, and 10,000 for 4 times. Zhang Shuyu once again realized that the remaining 100,000 contribution points he had left might not last long. The contribution value turned out to be so useless. I hope the reward for breaking the record will be higher. The cold wind swept across, raising frost and snow all over the sky. The scorching sun above the head has no temperature at all, but looks like a light bulb in this snowy field. The cold wind and the cold temperature on the soles of his feet told him that the environment here was very harsh. Not far away, there are patches of glaciers blocking the line of sight. Zhang Shuyu found that he was in a basin surrounded by glaciers. A total of 146 undead puppets quickly ran in all directions, and the topographic map appeared in their minds. Zhang Shuyu's physique is now much stronger than before. He walked up a piece of snow without realizing it, and climbed up an iceberg. At a glance, there are continuous white snow. No sense of direction at all. Frost and snow kept interfering with his vision, making it impossible to find his way. Quote, "This is a replica, not the real world. The icy sun on the head does not move, and it is impossible to distinguish the north, south, east, and west." Just thinking about it, suddenly an undead puppet issued an alarm. Find the target. A little snow beast suddenly jumped out of the snow field, biting the undead puppet tightly. However, the undead puppet's defense was now over 10,000, and it was not afraid at all, and directly hacked the snow beast to death with a knife. Kill LV.25 Snowfield Dorje Beast Cub, experience plus 10000, get cub teeth too. Then, another snow beast rushed out from the thick ice, carrying a lot of cold water. The snow beast is 8 meters high, and has several big snow-white hands. As soon as it came out, it frantically slapped the undead puppet. The sword in the hand of the undead puppet kept swinging, and many hands were cut off. In a blink of an eye, the furry snow beast only had one hand left, and it backed away in pain. Zhang Shuyu arrived, and before the tree died, the detection technique flew out in time. LV.30 Snowfield Dorje Beast General Level Monster. Open black lens bracket power, 6000 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket agility, 1208 close black lens bracket. Spirit, 1400. Physique, 7200. Skill, Furious Smashing. Looking at this attribute, it is already very close to the previous orange level undead puppet. even stronger than the boss Sisina in the snake-human dungeon. As expected of a team dungeon, the attributes of just an ordinary monster are already comparable to the LV.30 king-level monster in the snake-human race dungeon. If the undead puppets hadn't reached the yellow level, it would be much more troublesome to deal with. Where would it be as easy as it is now? After Zhang Shuyu saw the monster's attributes, he ordered the undead puppet to attack. Kill LV.30 Snowfield Dorje Beast, experience plus 36000, get Dorje Beast for 5. Not only the attribute is comparable to the boss, but even the experience is, which is true. At this time, the undead puppets were attacked by the enemy one after another, but they were no longer cubs, all of them were generals. This ice and snow area seems to be the territory of the snowy Dorje Beast. There are quite a few of them, they are everywhere, all of them are hidden under the snow and ice, and when someone passes by, they will attack. With a thought, Zhang Shuyu used his skills to put 6-stage armor on himself. His black armor was very conspicuous in the snow field, and no snowflakes could adhere to it. It's amazing, it can still keep you warm. After he praised, he let the undead puppet continue to explore in all directions. The controllable range of the red level undead puppet is only 625 meters. Now that it is yellow level, the range has reached 2,500 meters. Zhang Shuyu followed the route on the map where there were more monsters. More and more areas were detected, and the map in Zhang Shuyu's mind became more and more perfect. An hour has passed, and Zhang Shuyu's detection range is getting bigger and bigger. It's pretty deserted with ice and thick snow everywhere and nothing else. Except for the ice and snow, that is, the Dorje Beast in the snow field, there are no other monsters. After the detection lasted for 2 hours, something strange finally appeared in Zhang Shuyu's mind. Cave. Zhang Shuyu hurriedly ran towards that direction. He found a relatively stable snow mountain and climbed up. He saw a cave. The permafrost condensed above the cave, a piece of red and yellow. Without further ado, Zhang Shuyu put away the undead puppets scattered in other places. Countless undead puppets instantly appeared in front of the cave, and then rushed towards the cave. Boom! As soon as the undead puppet rushed to the entrance of the cave, there was movement inside. Then, countless medium-sized monsters rushed out from the frozen cave. Zhang Shuyu didn't panic at all, he was still on the snow mountain at this time, and he didn't go down at all. The detection technique was released at will. Open black lens bracket LV.30 frozen musk ox close black lens bracket. The data is basically 3 or 4,000, but the attack is much higher, with 7,000. Each musk ox is 3 meters high, counting the tail, and its body is tall and strong, comparable to a truck. The hot air in their nostrils spewed out, looking very aggressive. And their horns, on top of the pure white, are still dotted with black spots. Hundreds of musk oxen with strong physiques rushed towards the undead puppet, and the undead puppet charged forward without any fear. If other teams were approaching the cave in the frozen soil, they would definitely step at every step, attract and disperse the monsters in small waves, and then siege and kill them. Where would someone like Zhang Shuyu have no combat skills? 10 undead puppets swung their swords at the same time, and their skills were thunderous. The sword swung with 3 times its own attack power had a yellow light, more dazzling than the sun. Moo! A frozen musk ox screamed and fell to the ground instantly. Open black lens bracket kill LV.30 frozen musk ox, experience plus 36000, get frozen musk ox horn 3. Close black lens bracket. 2 seconds later, several other frozen musk oxen had surrounded the group of skeletons. Zhang Shuyu's mental power aimed at the musk ox's carcass, the dead bones were exploded indiscriminately. Boom! The cave was affected, and the frozen soil smashed on the surrounding thick snow. The musk ox on the frozen soil was hit by clusters of scattered snow, and its huge body rolled in the air. There was one explosion after another. Suddenly, many large pits appeared on the snow, revealing the underlying ice layer. The blizzard was like rain, and those musk oxen killed by the blast were buried in the snow. Zhang Shuyu had a lot of experience in his pocket. All the loot entered his void storage domain, and the experience bar took off again. The experience provided by each monster is equivalent to 1,000 coconut monsters and scallop monsters in the Mila Sea. Just a wave of small beasts brought a 10% progress bar. Thank you Shuiyuan. Zhang Shuyu's chest heaved a sigh of relief. This is not a dungeon, it is clearly a treasure. If he could keep bombing monsters like this, wouldn't it be as easy for him to play dungeons to practice and level up his drinking water and eating? Others are fully armed and cautious, and the monsters that can only be killed through exhaustion are in front of him, just like chopping melons and vegetables. In the blink of an eye, it seemed that the monsters around the frozen earth cave had been cleaned up. Zhang Shuyu jumped down, let the undead puppets jump into the air to catch him, and then followed them to other places. The road in the cave twisted and twisted. Zhang Shuyu followed the puppet at the front. Anyway, he wanted to receive the experience in his hands, whichever way he took was the same. In the permafrost, the temperature is significantly higher, so it is no wonder that so many musk oxen choose to live in it. Going all the way, Zhang Shuyu found that the cave was winding and connected in all directions. Many permafrost musk oxen nestled against the edge of the permafrost, lazily falling asleep. As the undead puppets continued to advance, many musk oxen were surrounded and killed without realizing it, leaving only one corpse in the entire cave. While advancing, other undead puppets are also walking in other caves. They headed in the same direction as Zhang Shuyu, cleaning up the musk ox in other small caves one by one. The number is not too much, but it is all experience. The map of the barren snowfield is too big. After more than an hour of walking along the cave, the map in his mind finally showed something else. There is a not so high mountain at the end, where the permafrost is black and looks more like coal. The mineral resources in the ice field are really rich, no wonder the previous scientific expedition teams went to the poles. Zhang Shuyu finally understood why the other teams advanced so slowly. Finding the way is the most tortuous one, and there are densely packed musk oxen along the way, each of which is no worse than other king-level monsters in ordinary dungeons. A normal team, even a perfect team of 40 people, needs a lot of time to clean up and pass through smoothly. Zhang Shuyu finally got a glimpse of the black frozen soil. It turned out to be black metal, quite similar to the black iron recorded in the world of cultivating immortals. Nearby, there are many strange trees covered with a thick layer of snow. The original appearance cannot be seen, only the branches are bent on the snow surface. And above the sky here is the aurora, like candy wrappers. If Bailey was here, maybe he would like to see such a beautiful scenery. Somehow, he felt that girls would like such a beautiful thing. Rustling, a burst of movement broke his imaginings, and countless snow-white insects crawled out of the snow layer like stars. Of course, the body length of these insects is as wide as a person's hand, which is not cute. Their exposed fangs seem to declare that this is their territory. LV.31 Snowy Frost Larva Soldier General Level Monster. Strength, 3000 Agility, 2500 Spirit, 800 Constitution, 4500. Skill, none. It is much weaker than the snowy musk ox, and it is no different from the monsters in the same level of difficulty. Just this amount. What a tricky Zerg. Zhang Shuyu couldn't help being speechless. The Zerg likes to reproduce the most, and any Zerg is a very large group. They have a strict hierarchy and a clear division of labor, but if even the insect soldiers are general-level monsters, then the frost caterpillar workers and frost caterpillar soldiers above them. Zhang Shuyu's spirit immediately cheered up. Isn't this the experience value that God sent to your door? His detection technique has attracted the attention of the larva, and several frost-haired larvae raised their heads. The next second, they rushed over screaming. Target, Zhang Shuyu. The speed is very fast, and it seems to have surpassed the supposed 2500 value. Larvae are fast, undead golems are even faster. A few undead puppets blocked them, raised their hands, and dropped their swords. Puff. The pure white snow was stained red with blood, and it was instantly killed without any suspense. The attribute gap is too great, and the undead puppet with over 10,000 attack power has a mountainous combat power. Da da da. Puff. The undead puppets ran forward at a very high speed, and where they passed, no insects lived. Kill LV.31 Snowy Frost Larva, experience plus 60000, get Snowy Stone 6. The experience value increases steadily. More than 3 hours have passed since entering the instance. So it's not Xuanti, it's Shuiyuan Stone. Yes, if it's really Xuanti, many people would have come to this dungeon every day. Zhang Shuyu's analysis was wrong, and he couldn't help laughing at himself. After walking for a long time, there was no group of monsters, most of them were scattered, and his efficiency dropped a lot in an instant. Huh, what is this? Zhang Shuyu walked over and saw many spherical snow-white fruits hanging from the silver-blue twigs, covered with a layer of transparent jelly-like substance. Zhang Shuyu felt a little strange, stretched out his hand and squeezed it, and it really bounced. Snow Spirit Fruit. Restores 3000 mental power, needs to be taken within 5 minutes after picking, can be stored with the root to maintain vitality, and the time limit is 5 hours. Close black lens bracket. Rustling. The corners of Zhang Shuyu's mouth curled up, as he expected. Where there are such spiritual plants, there are monsters. He turned his head away, looking expectant. It's a pity that they were still frost hair larvae. They drilled out from the ground and quickly surrounded themselves, the number far exceeded 100. These frost hair larvae screamed angrily at Zhang Shuyu, as if to warn Zhang Shuyu to stay away from the snow spirit fruit. But the only response to them was the blade of the undead puppet. Zhang Shuyu is now under an ice wall, there is no road ahead, and behind him are all frost caterpillars. They are pure white like snow and densely packed with thorns like snow-white clouds. There are still some visible potholes in the ice wall, which should be the nests of other frost caterpillars. They are 2 people tall, and he can go in. Zhang Shuyu suddenly realized that he might have stabbed a worm's nest. To cross the glacier, you must enter the wormhole. But there are 6 entrances in front of him, and it doesn't know which one is the right way. The 60 undead puppets were immediately divided into 5 groups and ran to different caves, while the other, workers, turned around to deal with the larvae behind them. As for Zhang Shuyu, he stood where he was, bent down, pinched a snow spirit fruit, and threw it into his mouth. Oh, it's still a little sweet, delicious. Schwaling fruit is not as cold and bitter as imagined. Originally, more than half of his mental power had been consumed, but after consuming the snow spirit fruit, his mental power immediately recovered. He didn't expect that the recovery speed of 2000 mental power would be so fast, and his mental power was fully restored again, 3520. It is 10 times faster than the speed of entering meditation in the practice dojo. Looking at the countless cue ball snow spirit fruits on the silver blue twigs, he made a quick decision. 70 ghost magicians were summoned, and seeing that the spiritual power that had just been filled was exhausted, Zhang Shuyu destroyed all the summoned ghost magicians. At this time, the effect of the snow spirit fruit has not disappeared, and the mental power is still recovering. So he was like this, summoning the ghost magician while recovering. When the effect of the snow spirit fruit was fully exerted, Zhang Shuyu would destroy the ghost magician in front of him, and then take another snow spirit fruit. This place seems to be the best dojo for Zhang Shuyu to train his skill proficiency. Based on this alone, Zhang Shuyu feels that this trip has earned him blood. Without caring about the consumption of mental power, his proficiency climb progressed rapidly. While he was practicing his skills, the expedition team had rushed into the wormhole, and the larva behind him had long been cleaned up. The longest distance of 2,500 meters is a straight line distance, which will change due to terrain. There are more frost caterpillars in the burrow. Kill LV.30 snowy frost caterpillars, experience plus 120000, get frost caterpillar acupuncture 3. Kill LV.31 snowfield frost caterpillar worker, experience plus 38000, get snowfield stone 5. Soon after going deep into the cave, the undead puppets encountered the snowfield frost caterpillar worker, who had higher experience. He didn't care about the undead puppets directly, allocated 60 undead puppets to follow them into the wormhole, and let them move freely, explore plus kill monsters. The rest are protecting him outside the ice wall, and he is responsible for cultivating skills wholeheartedly. After summoning the ghost magician hundreds of times in a row, his skills have finally been upgraded to LV.3, but this is just the beginning. Zhang Shuyu never tired of it, and continued to call for destruction. How can such a good natural dojo be missed? As time passed, Zhang Shuyu's skills did not stop for a moment, and he became more and more proficient in controlling them. After eating the snow spirit fruit one by one, his mental strength was always recovering, and he couldn't see the end at all. 10 minutes later, the skill was raised by 1 level again. The speed is not known how many times faster than the practice dojo. In the wormhole, the undead puppets continued to explore and move forward, and the map became more and more perfect. 3 hours later, Zhang Shuyu's speed finally slowed down. There are not many Q-bomb snow spirit fruits on the small blue branches, and the skill of summoning ghost magician has also been upgraded to LV 25 by him, which is impossible to upgrade. In Zhang Shuyu's eyes, there was satisfaction. LV.25 yellow level ghost magician's spiritual power has now increased by 30 times, and it is already 24,400, twice that of the undead puppet, and there is one more skill, frost sweeping. The fly in the ointment is that other attributes such as strength, agility, and physique are all half of the undead puppets. Frost sweeping LV.1 forms a frost ghost tornado within a certain range, causing ice element or shadow element damage to the target, and the attack power is proportional to the mental power. Close black lens bracket. The two standing in front of him are ghost magicians with dual elements of cold shadows. On its staff, there is a crystal ball filled with snow, and there is a strong wind inside. Zhang Shuyu can imagine how terrifying the ghost magician's AP will be. Frost sweeping is a group attack skill. It can be said to be a great help for him who may frequently download dungeons in the future. Zhang Shuyu pointed in one direction, and the ghost magician's staff pointed forward, and several cold winds mixed with ice and snow swept out, making the sky quite dark. Under Zhang Shuyu's gaze, under the layers of frost, there are countless snow shadows. A large piece of ice flew out of it like an arrow. The Zerg corpses that had fallen on the ground were drawn in, and the frost sweeping lasted for a full 10 seconds before ending, covering an area with a diameter of 10 meters. By the time the skills calmed down, the bugs on the ground had long been covered by thick snowdrifts. Group attack skills, and very powerful, 24,400 mental power is not empty. The skills that ghost magicians can only master when they reach LV 24 are better than undead puppets, which seems normal. Both kinds of puppets have their own advantages, but another disadvantage of the ghost magician is a bit big. Now summoning an undead puppet only needs 400 mental power, but summoning a ghost magician requires a full 1200. If he hadn't been wearing the Yunhun Sanwu, he could only summon 2 of them with his 1920 mental power alone. Thinking about it, who would familiarize themselves with the new skills they just mastered at LV 25 when they have nothing to do? Looking at the snow spirit fruit that is not much in stock. Zhang Shuyu planned to store them all in the void storage domain, so that they could be used at critical moments in the future. But right now, there is nothing to do, so he plans to fill up the mustard space. Eat a snow spirit fruit, and then summon 16 undead puppets. Let the number of undead puppets reach 170, and then he began to summon the ghost magician with all his strength. The attributes of the summoned ghost magician are random and do not change with his thoughts. For a while, various elements fluctuate in the air. Shadow, fire, ice. One by one ghost magicians were summoned and appeared beside Zhang Shuyu, even with light. God knows how shocked Zhang Shuyu was when he saw the light, as if he had seen a ghost. How could he, a ghost cultivator, have such a thing? But his mood calmed down immediately. As long as he could fight, it was a good thing. The skills of fire and thunder ghost magicians are single target attacks. The ghost magician skills of ice and wind are group based. Wrapped in worn robes, they are much thinner than undead puppets, but the soul fire in their heads is more vigorous. The various elements on the staff are flamboyant, demonstrating their powerful strength. Although Zhang Shuyu dislikes their publicity and prefers restrained style, he believes that his ghost magician is enough to instantly kill magicians and arcanists of the same level. When the snow spirit fruit was almost exhausted, the mustard space that had been vacant for a long time was finally filled. There are only a few fruits left, which can only be used when making a dungeon later. 170 undead puppets, 80 ghost magicians, a total of 250, all became his beaters. Zhang Shuyu suddenly felt that he could push horizontally in the dungeon of the same level, and it didn't matter what difficulty level it was. Even if he enters the Asian level, it will not be a problem for him to push horizontally. Just like the barren snowfield where he is now, a team copy that requires 40 people to clear, he has 250 super output here, plus he has a water paddle. Compared with the 40 monks, the summoned army of souls can be distinguished at a glance. Come back next time. After the snow spirit fruit refreshes, you can practice other skills. There is more than one skill to be cultivated. There is also 6-stage armor, shadow entanglement. As long as the mental strength is sufficient, these two skills are not difficult. The most difficult thing is to fry indiscriminately, and don't know what can continue to be used. After the monster in the dungeon is killed, it can only be used for a limited time of a few minutes, and then it will be absorbed by the dungeon, so that it can be refreshed later. It took about 4 hours to practice the skills before and after, and it has been more than 7 hours since Zhang Shuyu entered the instance. At this time, in the wormhole, the terrain 2,500 meters away from him has been completely explored, without any mistakes or omissions. It turns out that the zergs are the same as other bugs, no matter which entrance they enter from, they are all connected internally. As Zhang Shuyu entered the cave, the distance narrowed, and the undead puppets continued to move again. The undead puppets shuttled quickly in the cave to investigate the situation for Zhang Shuyu. There are thousands of twists and turns in the worm lair, which is like a huge and incomparably maze, without any boundaries. Zhang Shuyu can only choose one direction to move forward. Kill LV.31 Snowfield Frost Caterpillar Soldier, experience plus 43200, get Frost Caterpillar Burr 3. Somewhere in the wormhole, Frost Caterpillar soldiers appeared. According to the division of labor among the Frost Caterpillar groups, the Frost Caterpillar worker is the worker, the Frost Caterpillar soldier is the soldier, and the Frost Caterpillar soldier is responsible for guarding the queen, so the distance will not be too far. Zhang Shuyu immediately rushed towards the direction of the Frost Caterpillar soldiers, and the other undead puppets also turned their directions. The wormhole gradually became clear, and the veil in the darkness was lifted, and there were more and more Frost Caterpillar soldiers. Zhang Shuyu stepped into an extremely wide square, and the Frost Caterpillar soldiers who were sleeping inside were awakened when he entered. Hundreds of Frost Caterpillar soldiers woke up at the same time, shaking their bodies, spreading their wings, and rushing towards Zhang Shuyu hoarsely. They actually have wings, and there are only a few hundred of them. It seems, there must be more than one barracks lair. Zhang Shuyu became excited. The undead puppet was the first to meet him, and the ghost magician followed suit. This is the first battle of the ghost magician. A large number of skills such as fire explosion, frost sweeping, blazing sun, lightning flash, were thrown out one after another. 80 ghost magicians acted at the same time, and in an instant, the elements rioted brightly, magic flew around, and the cave roared continuously. Zhang Shuyu was at the side, dazzled by the sight, applauding secretly in his heart, beautiful. When the undead puppet rushed to the Frost Caterpillar soldiers, a large number of the insect soldiers had already been killed or injured. The mental power of 24,400 points has brought extremely strong lethality to the ghost magician, and relieved a lot of fatigue for the undead puppets. It is estimated that even a monk of LV.36 should not be able to produce as much damage as a ghost magician. In less than 10 seconds, the hundreds of Frost Caterpillar soldiers in front of Zhang Shuyu were slaughtered. Although it was faster than the dry bone bombing, it was labor-saving. Zhang Shuyu doesn't even need to move, just stand there and watch the fireworks show. After such a core appeared, Zhang Shuyu continued to push forward with more certainty, and found several core in succession. Their scale, one mountain is taller than one mountain. Zhang Shuyu's experience points soared at an alarming rate. The team pushed all the way without hindrance, and finally entered the depths of the wormhole, and there were more intensive and powerful buzzing sounds in his ears. When the undead puppet passed a corner, it suddenly encountered a group of butterflies. Their size was terribly large. The wings that should have been thin and transparent like butterfly wings were now thick and plush. And their mouth parts are so sharp that they seem to be able to crush ice cubes. It's designed like that, and it looks reasonable. When Zhang Shuyu complained, he did not forget to throw the detection technique. LV.32 Snowfield Butterfly, General Level Monster. Open black lens bracket power, 7200 close black lens bracket. Agility, 3600. Open black lens bracket spirit, 3600 close black lens bracket. Physique, 8400. The undead puppet's reaction was extremely fast, and it immediately fought the butterfly, showing its powerful attribute advantages. The attack power of 12,200 can cause huge damage to the butterfly, almost fatal, but it is difficult for the butterfly to cause much damage to the undead puppet. The defense is too strong, and the butterflies can't break through it at all. After a few efforts, the group of butterflies became cold and lay on the ground, unable to move any more moths. Kill LV.31 Snowfield Butterfly, experience plus 432000, get sphenoid bone 3. Zhang Shuyu's eyes lit up. The sphenoid bone was one of the tasks in the barren snowfield, and each sphenoid bone was worth 5,000 spirit stones. At that time, he still thought that the sphenoid bone was similar to the bone of a butterfly. It turned out to be a real butterfly. Now that the butterflies have appeared, Zhang Shuyu can now be absolutely sure that the Queen of Worms is not far away. Such a mature butterfly should be regarded as the personal guard of the Frost Caterpillar Queen, and will never stay away from the Queen. And in a Zerg tribe, the number of butterflies will not be particularly large, not like Frost Caterpillar soldiers and Frost Caterpillar workers. The team continued to advance, and there were butterflies all the way. It's just that these butterflies are not like the Frost Caterpillar soldiers, they are all in groups of 3 or 4. The undead puppet pushed forward and cleaned up all the butterflies in the snow field. Before he knew it, Zhang Shuyu had been walking in the wormhole for nearly 2 hours, when a huge frost caterpillar appeared in his eyes. This frost caterpillar is more than 10 meters tall, and its whole body is a bit bloated, like a building. There are 3 pairs of huge plush butterfly wings growing on its back, vibrating a few times from time to time, making some noise. There are 4 frost caterpillars in front of it. These 4 frost caterpillars are equally tall, more than 6 meters high, with wings that can fly. Their mouthparts are like giant scythes, which look very terrifying. This is the Queen of Worms. Just as he thought. LV.33 Snow Queen, King-level monster. The Worm Queen in front of him is just a king-level monster, and its attributes are not too high. The other 4 giant frost caterpillars are all LV.32 Queen's Guard, martial-level monster only with extremely high physique. For other attacks, the speed and spirit are very difficult. Coupled with the protection skills, it is obviously the exclusive meat shield for the Queen. With them in the front, the Queen's safety is greatly increased. The Queen is the most important one in the entire Zerg race, and there is no room for loss. Maybe other teams will only have a headache seeing these meat shields, so they must try their best to kill them one by one. Just because of their existence, Zhang Shuyu saw the bonus experience points. When the detection technique was used, the undead puppet had already rushed up, and so had the Queen's personal guards. The Queen's wings vibrated, and she suddenly let out a sharp cry, sound wave. Horror and sharp voices vibrated back and forth in the frost caterpillar lair. The 6-stage armor on Zhang Shuyu's body erupted with dark golden light, resisting the sound wave, and all the undead puppets and ghost magicians were simultaneously attacked by strong force. Indiscriminate attack with a huge range. However, the Queen's attack power was obviously not enough. Zhang Shuyu's 6-stage armor successfully blocked it, and the undead puppets were almost unaffected. Only the magicians were injured. Catch one as cannon fodder. With Zhang Shuyu's order, the undead puppets swung their skills at the same time, and yellow light bloomed on their swords. After Thunderbolt was used, the ghost magician behind him also used the skill immediately. They obeyed Zhang Shuyu's arrangement and aimed at the same Queen Guard. Elemental skills are like fireworks, gorgeous and dazzling. After a dazzling light, a personal guard was killed. Kill LV.32 Queen Guard, experience plus 440000, get sphenoid bone 8. Zhang Shuyu immediately threw the mental power trigger skill. Boom. After a loud noise, the 3 Queen Guards were all blown away. He didn't die. Zhang Shuyu was slightly taken aback. Quote, that's 6 times the attack power of the guard's total blood bar. It should be impossible for monsters of the same kind to withstand it. Why is this? Zhang Shuyu rested his chin in thought. I didn't check in today. To reward myself, I'm going downstairs to buy milk tea now. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.